The Louie T Network is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up. Take command, of course. I'm your Commander-in-Chief, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. I don't want those in the armed service to get on me about that wrong hand. So, hope everyone is doing well. On this final day of June, we want to send this month out with a bang. June has been a really good month, and a lot of things have transpired. A lot of milestones in my life personally have transpired and taken place. And so we're now into the official dog days of summer as the calendar turns to July. And we're getting that much closer to the start of training camp and the season kicking off. And man, time flies when you're having fun. I'll say that much. But I wanted to talk about tonight in particular, potential one-hit wonders for the Washington Commanders. And although this has been arguably the best offseason work of one Adam Peters, we still have quite a bit of guys on expiring contracts. Now, in the past, there's been a lot more guys on expiring contracts and deals, but this offseason, there were more multi-year contracts handed out, and you're deeper into the program, meaning you have the 2024 draft class. Now you have the 2025 draft class, and you just added another draft class. All of these guys are under contracts. All of these guys have multiple years left on their deals, including the 2024 class still having at least 2 years left if you're a rookie or still on that rookie contract, even if you're a non-first round pick. So now you're starting to see more guys under contract for multiple years. Then you add in the guys that they signed to multi-year contracts last year or the year before that. Now, the year before that, normally those 2024 guys, this is their last year. Their deals are expiring, so they're going to be part of the conversation that we're having tonight. There weren't very many guys signed to multi-year extensions or contracts last year. Bates and Javon Kinlaw, I think, were among the few last year that got multi-year deals or extensions. So there weren't very many from last year's crop, although Will Harris got a multi-year deal last year. He's on an expiring deal. He'll be a part of the conversation tonight. And so you get where I'm going with this, right? You're starting to build a roster where you have more guys under contract moving forward. Plus, you added a ton of guys to multi-year deals this offseason, which, again, was the most, I think, progressive offseason for this Commanders group of Adam Peters and Dan Quinn. It was the most, I think, fruitful, and we'll see if it actually bears real fruit, but it feels like the most fruitful. It's the most hopeful we've been after an offseason, I can tell you that much. And we have every right to feel like they've done a tremendous job with the talent that they've brought in, whether it's Leo Chanel, whether it's Chiga Okonkwo, whether it's Amik Robertson, whether it's Kaylavon Chason. That's a one-year deal. He'll be part of the conversation tonight, but that's another guy that we think can potentially have an impact this year. But if you continue on with the guys with multi-year deals, Adafi Owe obviously was the biggest contract that they handed out this offseason. So they signed a ton of guys to multi-year deals that we think have a chance. Nick Cross, another one, can impact this team in a positive manner. So tonight, I just want to focus on the guys that are on expiring contracts. And I have two different scenarios that I'm going to pose to you. The first being, we're just going to open up and the lens and widen it to capture the entire group of guys that are on expiring deals, right? And then I want to narrow the focus to guys that are who were just signed to one-year deals this year. All right. So it's two separate conversations crammed into one. So let's get this conversation and this party started. So on the screen, you see in front of you a list of guys who, let's see, this might make it bigger. I'd rather do it this way. So On the screen, you see a list of guys who have expiring contracts. All right, their deals are up at the end of this season. So as you go into the 2027 offseason, these will all be unrestricted free agents, right? So, and now there are other guys that are unrestricted free agents, but I'm assuming that most of those guys, which I have not added them into this group, aren't going to make this team. Now, I don't think Jerome Ford is going to make this squad, but there's still a chance Jerome Ford could have a massive impact on this season. It's highly unlikely, but we just don't know. And anything could happen, and Jerome Ford could absolutely make this football team, right? So I did add him in. Same with Van Jefferson, and we're going to have a Van Jefferson conversation tonight because I think it is pertinent. And as we get closer and closer to the start of training camp, and the Brandon Aiyuk situation seems to, I want to say we're getting more and more clarity from it because we're not. But as we start to draw inferences from the situation, Van Jefferson starts to become a real player in this wide receiver room in this conversation that we're going to have. So when we talk about the wide receiver room, because help may not be on the way, right? And for those of us who was like, well, just sign Stephon Diggs. I don't think they're signing Stephon Diggs. I don't think they're interested in Diggs. I think they rather just roll with their room the way that it is than sign. Now, if they get to summer and they don't like the way that their wide receiver room is producing, that's when you pick up the phone and you call the Stephon Diggs if you don't think that there's going to be an opportunity for you to get your hands on Brandon Aiyuk. But as of right now, I think they like their wide receiver room just the way that it is, and if they can get Brandon Aiyuk, if somehow he shakes free, excellent. They'll add him to the group. But they feel confident that Treylon Burks and De'Ami Brown and, this conglomerate of guys that they have that they can throw out there at the number 2, which may not be very appetizing to some of you, is more than capable of getting it done in a limit, in a limited capacity, in a wide receiver 2 by committee type of capacity, because I still think ultimately when it's all said and done, your rookie 3rd round pick Antonio Williams is going to be your wide receiver 2 in terms of opportunities, volume, and getting the football. But you still want a guy opposite of Terry that you can rely on. I think Treylon Burks is going to get the first crack at that. I really, truly do. So we'll see what happens. But you're going to get some De'Ami Brown out there, I believe. Luke McCaffrey has looked good this offseason. And so I think they feel good right now with what they're able to put out on the field. But we'll see. That's great to feel that way in the spring. How are these guys producing in the summer? Because I think they may have learned a lesson from last year. The receiving group last year was awful. And they watched it all summer and they chose to do nothing about it because they lied to themselves. We lied to ourselves. Like, I was guilty of it too. Oh, Terry's going to come back. Noah Brown's going to come back from his injury. Everybody's going to be back for week 1. We'll be all one big happy family, and all will be right in the wide receiver room, and all will be right in Commander's world. And that was so far from the truth, right? Terry came back, was never truly himself early in the season, especially. He didn't make a play until the play that actually got him hurt. The play against the Raiders, right? He didn't do anything in week 1 against the Giants. It was all Deebo Samuel. He didn't do anything in week 2 against the Packers. Again, it was all Deebo and Zach Ertz. And then he finally made a play against the Raiders and he got hurt. So he wasn't there early in the season. Noah Brown got hurt immediately in week 2. And so we lied to ourselves. I don't think they're going to make that mistake. If they see any trouble, any sign of trouble, I believe, in the summertime, because the signs were there last summer and they chose to ignore it, I think they're going to do something about it. But I digress. Let's go through this list real quick. And I'll talk about the guys that I believe have a chance to be the one-hit wonder that stands out amongst the group. And I'll make a case for the guys that I think have a chance to be a part of this discussion. You have Daron Payne, obviously Payday Payne. Can I get the drop? Can I get the drop? We got to have the drop. If we're going to say Payday Pain, you got to have the drop to go with it. Can I get the drop real quick?
Payday Pain.
One more time.
Payday Pain.
Yeah. Payday Pain. We know what time it is when there's a blank checks sitting in front of Deron Payne. So hopefully we get that kind of Deron Payne this year. Dorrance Armstrong, I really feel bad for Dorrance. I'm going to say it again. He's not going to be the Dorrance Armstrong that we saw prior to the injury, right? Like, you got to understand that it's going to take Dorrance probably a full year after the injury for him to feel like his normal self. And unfortunately, he doesn't have that kind of time. This is the last year of the 3-year deal that we signed him to. And it's a shame because he was playing extremely high-level football. Then he gets injured, a major injury, and now he's going to come back, and he's probably not going to look like himself. That's unfortunate for him. Kaylavon Chason is a guy that we signed this offseason to a 1-year, basically $11 million deal, as you can see, and there's a chance that he has a massive season. This could be the year where he finally puts it all together. It seems like he's getting better and better. 2 years ago, it was 5.5. Last year, it was 7.5. This could be the year that it's 10 or 12.5, right? He could finally put it all together this year. We'll see. Frankie Louvu on that last year of the 3-year deal, he signed back in 2024. First year was as exciting as it gets, all pro honors, etc. Last year, really down season. See if he can return to form this year. Marcus Mariota, I'll just say this. If Marcus Mariota ends up being the biggest one-hit wonder, right, we're in trouble. Period. End of discussion. What we need from Marcus is what we got from him in 2024. When his number is called, he comes in and plays outstanding football. That's what we need from Marcus Mariota. If we get anything other than that from him, we're in trouble, unless he just doesn't play at all. And we want Marcus to see the field like he did in 2024 in some blowout, situations. We don't really want to see him like we did against Carolina, where he had to come in and essentially play the whole game because Jaden got hurt relatively early, first possession of the game. We don't want to see that. But we would love to see him get some of that Cleveland Browns mop-up fourth quarter duty because we're stomping a mud hole in somebody and we're just taking out all of the starters and Jaden's out of there. We'd love to get some of that work in, right? Hopefully we can get Marcus a couple of those mop-up games this season. Will Harris, look, I don't think, for me, I can't speak for you. I'll speak for myself. I didn't have high aspirations for him when we signed him last year. I thought he was average at best last year when he did play. They love him as a communicator. But ultimately, he's going to be our starting free safety again. We'll see if he can, do something this year. One of the few holdovers from the previous Ronald Rivera regime, Jartavis Martin, is in the final year of his rookie contract. We'll see if he can make the most of it in this new scheme that may fit his skill set a little bit better. Who knows? We'll see. Charles Omenihu is a guy that I think could flourish in this scheme. We've seen him have a big season before where he almost hit double-digit sacks. Can he, rival that here in 2026 with the Commanders? If this guy gets us 6 sacks this year, that's a massive season for Charles Omenihu, let alone anything north of that. So, he comes in here, he stops the run, he gives us great depth, and he gets us 4.5, 5 sacks. That's a tremendous year. Anything north of 6 or better, what? That's a deal. That's a steal for us. Chris Paul. This is a guy that we haven't talked about enough, I believe. When you talk about 1-year deals that were handed out, guys that are on expiring contracts, it's easy to overlook Chris Paul because a lot of us, and okay, again, I got to stop doing that. I'll speak for myself. I want to see Brandon Coleman start, but not at the expense of Chris Paul if he's the better player. Like, Brandon Coleman is the better athlete. And by virtue of that, I would love to see him on the field, but let's not make any mistake about this. I want the guy that's going to protect Jaden the best and the guy that's going to do his job at a higher clip, at the highest clip at that left guard position. And if that's Chris Paul, who played really well last year, then so be it. I would prefer it to be Brandon Coleman, but Coleman needs to earn it. Coleman needs to earn it. So Chris Paul could end up being the most important player on this entire list. If he starts at left guard and plays extremely well, it's hard to quantify, because if someone on this list, De'Ami Brown, has 600 yards receiving, which probably not going to happen, but Treylon Burks could. If Rachaad White has 972 all-purpose yards, that's a big season for him. If he has, 522 rushing and another 450 receiving, and he pours in 7 touchdowns, and he ends up back on kickoff returns for us and has a really solid season doing that, and then you put that in there, and I said all-purpose, let's say you throw in another 600 all-purpose yards being a kickoff return, man, that's a big season for him. We may feel his impact a little bit more, but Chris Paul starting at left guard day one and makes all 17 starts in the regular season, and however many postseason starts we have, if we get there, that's huge. It's huge. So don't want to discount him. Percy Butler, a guy that he's so polarizing within this fan base because so many people are trying to run this poor man off the roster. Percy Butler isn't going anywhere. Newsflash. Like, I had a guy send a tremendous comment from the video. I want to say it was yesterday, the tight end video that we did. And he left this great comment where he basically put together his 53-man roster. He put together the 16 guys that are going to make the practice squad. He separated them into veterans and the young guys that don't have the experience. It was a great comment, but I disagreed with some of it, right? One of the things I disagree with, he left Percy Butler completely off the roster. And he's not alone. There are a lot of people that when they are assembling their rosters, they seem to omit Percy Butler because it's an easy thing to do. Out of sight, out of mind. He doesn't play on defense. He's only on special teams, but you got to understand how much they truly value Percy Butler. Last year, and I spoke about all these people, all these players that got multi-year deals or extensions last year. Percy got an extension last year. That's why he's on the roster right now. They extended him out an extra year last year. They didn't have to do that. It's because of what he does as a special teams player that has him on this roster and probably firmly entrenched on this roster. Unless somebody comes in here as a undrafted or, someone that has been here, but they know the guys that have been here. It's going to have to be somebody that hasn't been here that comes in and knocks their socks off. And they're like, whoa. And I still don't know if Percy would be the guy that player would replace. It could be someone else at a different position, right? I said all that to say this. Percy Butler, until otherwise notified, until somebody else comes in here or they need that spot and they feel like they have, a better option elsewhere, whether that is Tyler Owens or some other player, until that happens, Percy Butler's on this football team. Nick Bellore, same thing. Same thing. And his is a little bit different because this is it for him. He already told us when he signed that 2-year contract after the 2024 season that I'm going to sign this 2-year extension, this 2-year deal, come back. I'm going to honor those 2 years, and then I'm retiring. I just want my kid to know that I played in the league, and he's getting to an age now where he can understand and he'll remember me. So I just want to play 2 more years. He played last year. He's going to play again this year, and I think he's going to hang it up. I don't see them cutting him. And again, there are certain guys you can cut and get onto the practice squad. I'm not sure that Nick Bellore is one of those guys. Teams around the league, whether you believe this or not, value special teams players. And Nick Bellore, at his ripe old age of 37, still one of the premier special teams players in the league. I think he's going to make this football team. yet again. We'll see. You never know. If they feel like a guy that they spent a 6th-round pick on and Kane Madrano is ready to take on that Nick Ballore role and be a fiend on special teams, Ballore could be on the outside looking in. But I feel like if it came down to Kane Madrano versus Nick Ballore, you're more likely to get Kane Madrano onto your practice squad than you are Nick Ballore. That's just how I feel about it. You cut Nick Ballore, and I think someone comes sniffing around and snatches him up. Meanwhile, you cut Kane Madrano, nobody cares. Doesn't even make a footprint. Rachaad White, very interesting name on this list because, first of all, I don't think if he's healthy, if he finishes this year healthy, he starts the year healthy, finishes the year healthy, plays however many games we have this season, there's no way he doesn't outperform his contract. This is one of the highway robberies of the offseason. And again, I had a really good conversation with the coach last night. If you haven't checked that out, San Francisco 49ers fan, we talked about the Brandon Aiyuk situation. And he talked about the value of Brandon Aiyuk. He made some great points about his value right now. I don't know if he's going to sign for the vet minimum, but here's what I will tell you. He put himself in a similar situation of Rachaad White, where you've given all of the leverage to a guy that you clearly don't want to give the leverage to, which is Adam Peters, because he's not a nice man when he has leverage. Okay? He is a shark when you give him all of the leverage, which is what Rachaad White basically did. Before he even set foot in the AI Bear complex, he had already changed his profile pic to him and Jaden. He had already been liking posts of people saying, come join the Commanders. He made it abundantly clear he wanted to play on the same team with his best friend, Jaden Daniels. And Adam Peters took full advantage of that, because there's no way in the hell you're going to convince me that Rachaad White is worth a one-year, $2 million deal that can get up to as much as $3 million. There's no way in hell you're convincing me that Rachaad White isn't worth, at a bare minimum, $5 million as a running back. That's crazy. That's insane. But maybe I'm overrating and overvaluing him. If Austin Eckler, I think, what did he get? Like a 2-year, 7.5, 2-year, $4 million, $8 million deal. What did Austin Eckler get? If Eckler can get let's say it was $7 million, that's 3.5. That's more than he got. And there's no way that he couldn't have commanded at least $4 million. Whatever. That's not my business. Your value is your value. Whatever you are willing to accept is your value. There's no way that we don't get maximum value out of Rachaad White if he's healthy. There's just no way. And he could easily be the one-hit wonder of this group, without a doubt, because we still don't know what Bill is. And if Bill doesn't answer the call, the first guy in line to take over his share of the snaps is Rachaad White. And then they'll probably work in Fat Man and all that good stuff, but Rachaad White would be the guy that would capitalize off of that the most. He'd be the biggest beneficiary of anything going awry with Bill. So Rachaad White easily could be the guy that turns into the one-hit wonder here with this team in 2026, without a doubt. Treylon Burks is another guy that has to be towards the top of the list, right? Especially if there is no Brandon Aiyuk, there is no Stephon Diggs. If we don't add another receiver, the guy that benefits the most from that is Treylon Burks. You could argue that the entire room, sans for Terry McLaurin, benefits from this. Terry would benefit from an addition like Brandon Aiyuk or Stephon Diggs, because it would take attention away from him. I don't think Antonio Williams benefits from an addition like Brandon Aiyuk or Stephon Diggs, because it takes targets away from him. And so I think the rest of the guys in that receiver room are like, yeah, don't bring that guy in. 49ers, don't cut him. Don't set him free, because that's more opportunities for De'Ami Brown. That's more opportunities for Treylon Burks. That's more opportunities for Luke McCaffrey. And for a guy like Van Jefferson, that's a chance for him to crack the roster. Right now, Van Jefferson, I still believe, is on the outside looking in, but he's not right now. He's not right now because there is no other receiver. They don't have to keep 7, though. Like, we just assume they're keeping 7 because we assumed that Brandon Aiyuk would be here at some point, and that may not happen. And so there may not be a reason to keep 7. If Van Jefferson continues the momentum from the spring, it'll be hard for them to cut him. And much like I said about Nick Bellore, you can't cut Van Jefferson and expect him to just be a practice squad addition. You cut Van Jefferson, someone else is going to sign him to their active roster. He's a real, legitimate NFL wide receiver that can get you 400 yards in a season. I think he had over 400 yards for the Titans last year. Like, he's a legitimate wide receiver. Like, we got to stop acting as if Van Jefferson is some Joe Schmo that is a back end of the roster. Like, they signed Van Jefferson to come in and compete, not knowing what De'Ami Brown was going to be. They didn't know De'Ami Brown, and we're going to talk about him next. Matter of fact, let's finish Treylon Burks. Burks is in line to be the starting Z receiver right now. If the season started today, he'd be lining up opposite of Terry McLaurin with Antonio Williams in the slot, and that's how they would roll if they came out in 11 personnel, right? Burks is a guy that they have high hopes for. They saw him up close and personal last year. I think they fell in love with him. He's a guy that blocks in the run game, which is very vital. Like, so many of you only focus on the pass catching aspect of what happens with, receivers. And in this particular offense, especially now that we're actually going to run the football a considerable amount, you have to start factoring in guys that block in the run game. That is very important. You want big runs. Your receivers have to be a part of the mix. We're going to start running screens. I don't know if you guys, heard this or not. I don't know if we've talked about this. I know I haven't talked about this enough, but the screen game is going to be a bigger part of our arsenal now. We didn't run a ton of screens with Cliff Kingsbury, and we haven't run a ton of screens. We haven't run screens really since you probably got to go all the way back to Scott Turner is the last time we ran screens. And the last time we had an effective screen was the Antonio Gibson 75-yard screen versus Buffalo back in 2021, I believe it was. So we're not a screen team. We haven't been a screen team, but we are about to become one with this new David Blau offense. And if you're going to run screens, the receivers have to block there as well, right? Whether it's a wide receiver screen, a running back screen, a tight end screen, doesn't matter. Tight end screen, you got to block. So Treylon Burks blocks. Treylon Burks is a bigger body receiver. We don't have a ton of those on the roster, right? He's a guy that's around 6'2" with a big physical frame. He's not going anywhere. There's people that still think Treylon Burks isn't making this roster. Again, we don't have very many guys that are north of 6'1" on this roster at the receiver position. He's one of the very few. We don't have very many receivers that are north of 215 pounds. He's one of the very few. So again, Treylon Burks isn't going anywhere. Okay? Treylon Burks isn't going anywhere. And he could very well be the biggest beneficiary of no Brandon Aiyuk and take full advantage of it and parlay that. He's 26 years old, y'all. He has 562 yards receiving this year. He's probably back on a multi-year contract next year. It could only be 2 years, maybe 3, with an option to get out with the exit ramp after the second season, whatever the case may be. You know what kind of deals Adam Peters signs here. He'll sign you to a 3-year deal quick with all your guaranteed money in the first 2 years, no guarantees in that third year, and if they need to get out, they will, right? The same thing they can do with Javon Kinlaw after this season. If they don't love what they get out of Kinlaw, they can move on from him after this season. Burks balls out. He's 26, y'all. He plays well this season. He could be back. Speaking of being back, welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back to De'Ami Brown. A guy that I think was sorely missed for the vibes in the locker room, but more importantly, for his ability to create opportunities vertically in the offense. We just didn't have another guy. When Terry went down, defenses really compacted their coverage and really pushed everything towards the line of scrimmage, made it tough on us to throw the football underneath, made it tough for us to run the football. It made us somewhat one-dimensional because we lacked that other guy that De'Ami Brown provided us with back in 2024. So it's good to have him back in the mix. I don't know if y'all have seen De'Ami this offseason. Brother has put on some real muscular weight, bro. Like, De'Ami was not playing. We made fun of him during the documentary for not wanting to do the extra reps, sitting down. De'Ami's been in the gym. De'Ami's been in the gym. Dan Quinn brought him up for a reason when he talked about guys that have stood out this offseason. That was intentional. De'Ami could easily be that guy. It's going to be interesting to see what his role is, how often he gets on the field. I also know they love De'Ami Brown on special teams, so that's another reason why I feel like De'Ami's going to make this team as well. Place kicker Jake Moody. He is in a very intriguing battle. Should he win it, he's going to be a huge part of the 2026 storyline. Whomever the kicker is, we got to hope that whomever wins this battle between these two kickers this summer is our kicker for a very long time. As you can see, Jake Moody is 27 years old, fairly young. He's not younger than the competition that they brought in, right? But he's a young guy. At 27, he could be our kicker for the next decade plus, right? Drew Stevens is probably like 22, 23. So he's way younger, right? But it doesn't matter. It's a kicker. We don't care about age. They're in the 20s. That's all I care about. Moody could absolutely be the one-hit wonder. He could absolutely get a 3-year extension after this year if he comes in here and goes 28 of 30, from, distance, right? From in a field goal capacity, doesn't miss any extra points. And he's 4 of 6 from 50 plus. Those are his only misses on the season. He'll be back next year on a multi-year deal, right? We can only hope that whomever wins the battle is outstanding because we're going to need those points. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We're not good enough to overcome missed field goals, extra points, etc. Tyler Ott, long snapper. That's an interesting one because he's 34. Long snappers are one of those positions. They can play till they're 180. So we'll see what they decide to do with Ott. Do they bring him back? After the Cam Cheeseman debacle, I think most of us are like, hey, just bring Tyler Ott back. We took the long snapper for granted. I think Cam Cheeseman was sent here intentionally by the football gods to give us a greater appreciation for the long snapper. It worked, by the way. I think we all have come to the agreement that we don't ever want to have conversations about long snapper ever again. Tyler Ott has put those conversations to rest. Part of that has been, though, because he's had some funky snaps, too. Tress Way has bailed him out. That's the next guy on the list. Tress Way forever, man. As long as Tress Way's left leg works, he should have a forever contract. You know what I mean? He's a great guy, great locker room guy, constant professional, and he always does his job. So, and he's a great holder. We see balls get dribbled back there. We see balls way too high, and it's never out of the reach of Tress Way. He turns into a catcher, whether he's got to scoop it and put it down, or he's got to go up. His knees got to come off the ground to snag it and still get it down. Laces out. Tress gets it done. As long as his left leg works, Tress should have a forever contract here. So I told you about that comment that I had from a viewer. And it's a great comment where he basically set the 53-man roster and the 16 guys on the practice squad. But I said I disagree with some of the names he left off of his list. Dietrich Wise was one of those names he left off the list. Dietrich Wise was one of the names he left off. I don't know how, because Dietrich Wise is absolutely making this football team. If he's healthy, which we got to assume he will be by the time the start of the season rolls around. He got hurt in week 2. He is going to be healthy. I am convinced by the time. I think he's going to be ready for training camp. I think he and Trey Amos are both going to be ready for the start of training camp. It wouldn't shock me if they took their time with both of those guys, not wanting to rush them back. They're ready, but they have them on the side field to start training camp just to, work them back in slowly, not to overwork them initially. But I think Dietrich Wise is going to be ready to go pretty much at the start of training camp, and he's going to have a full training camp, and he's going to be a huge part of this defensive, line, right? Kello Witherspoon is just depth. If I had it my way, he wouldn't be seeing the field very often this season. He's there on the wall, break in case of an emergency. That's what he should be. And hopefully we never have to break that lever, break that glass and pull the lever, right? But it's good to have a veteran like Kello Witherspoon if need be. But let's hope we don't have to explore that option. Jeremy McNichols is another guy that, they've seen up close and personal. They love him on special teams. They love his versatility, catch it out of the backfield, protect. It just feels like there's not a roster spot for him this year. Now, again, Jeremy McNichols feels like a guy that you can cut and get onto the practice squad as a veteran. But will they be willing to do that? They love this guy so much, right? Last year, we assumed he wasn't going to make the roster, and voila, he made the roster, right? So I would not discount, but this year's roster is different than last year's roster. Last year's roster made it so a guy like Jeremy McNichols could make the roster. Like, we kept Ale Cajo because we could, right? This year's roster is not set up where you can just say, we love Jeremy, let's just keep Jeremy. You're going to have to cut somebody that you really like that's actually a good football player that could end up on someone else's roster at the expense of keeping Jeremy McNichols. I'm not sure they're willing to do that. He's 31 years old too. Like, you got to take that into consideration. Are you willing to cut, a 26-year-old guy that can help you, that may get snatched up, to keep a 31-year-old? Just depends. Right? Just depends. Trent Scott, 30, veteran depth. We'll see if he makes the team. I think he's going to miss, I think he's going to be just outside the roster, but a guy that they'll throw on the practice squad. Van Jefferson, kind of talked about him already, but just to reiterate, I'm not sure. Let's have this Van Jefferson conversation in depth. I'm not sure Brandon Aiyuk's coming here. Right? I'm not sure, somebody, and this is what we have to also understand about the Brandon Aiyuk situation, because some of you now have convinced yourself of, all these imaginary narratives that you created to try to fit the narrative that you want to come to fruition. Someone yesterday commented on the video I did with Coach, the live stream. The Commanders are gonna get Brandon Aiyuk reinstated. They're gonna hire someone to get him reinstated, file the paperwork for him. They can't do that. You have to understand that that's called tampering. Brandon Aiyuk plays for the San Francisco 49ers right now. Until he is no longer a member of their organization, you can't have any contact with him. So you can't hire someone that's going to work on the behalf of Brandon Aiyuk and be his representation to get him all of the things that he needs to get done to get him. They're not doing that. Okay. They can't do that. And furthermore, they don't want to do that. This is a Brandon Aiyuk issue. This is not a Commanders issue. Okay. If he wants to be a free agent, if he wants to play for the Commanders, he's going to have to put his big boy pants on and do it himself. He's going to have to hire an agent himself or fire the agent that he claims he fired last November if he's not technically fired, because on the NFLPA website, that guy is still listed as his agent. So he claims he fired him. Maybe he said he fired him, but he didn't actually go through the process of terminating him. So he's got to do all of these things to put himself in a position to be a Commander. We're not going to help him with that. We can't, nor should we. All right. He's a grown ass man. He's an adult. So he's going to have to make decisions for himself. So right now, as it stands, doesn't feel like he's going to do the things that he needs to do to ensure that he plays football in 2026, because the 49ers, they're going to be very petty. And you know what? They have every right to be, after the fact that Brandon Aiyuk has been talking all kinds of crazy about them. We don't know all of the details of the events that led to this whole thing, going the way that it's gone. And Aiyuk may have every right to be pissed off, but the way he's gone about it, again, I've always said this. I'll always feel this way. You live in America. You have the right to freedom of speech, but you are not free from the consequences that come from your freedom of speech. You can say whatever you want, but whatever happens thereafter in the aftermath of what you say, you're not free from those consequences. And the way he's conducted business, I'm not saying that he's wrong for being upset, disgruntled, for ghosting them, whatever. He did what he felt like he needed to do. But this tirade, and I think he crossed the line when he started calling them predators. Like, that's crazy. Like, if I were them, oh, I'm a predator. Okay. All right. I got you. Like, they're definitely not releasing this guy, especially if he doesn't do the things he needs to do. He has to literally, I don't even know if the threat of him showing up is good enough anymore. He's got to set foot. Like, if I know that he doesn't want to set foot in the building, see, before, when he didn't say that and the threat of him showing up was plausible, I think that would have been enough to get the 49ers to say, all right, to hell with this. Let's just go ahead and cut him loose. When he says, I'm not setting foot in that building unless I'm a member of the Commanders on October 19th. Oh, really? So you're not going to come in here and take the physical that is necessary for us to deem that you're healthy, for us to then cut you, or for you to be able to get back on the practice field. You have to pass a physical. You're not willing to come in here and take the physical. Oh, you're not willing to come in here and actually act as if you're going to be ready to step on the practice field, which is, in that point, we would cut you because we don't want you to get hurt. And then we owe you $26 million. Oh, you're not willing to do that either. Oh, okay. So you're not willing to set foot in the building at all in any capacity? Cool. We'll just leave you on the did not report list, or left the team list, or whatever the hell that list is called. We'll just leave you on that shit. And there's a chance that they could throw him on the conduct detrimental to the team list and start going after money. Whatever the case may be, I said all that to say this. It feels like Brandon Aiyuk ain't playing football in 2026. And I've made my stance very clear. If he ain't playing ball for the Commanders in 26, I'm not interested in 27 and moving forward. This was a one-year thing. This was a 2026 thing. And if he doesn't take advantage, this is a limited time offer. He don't take advantage of it right now, I'm good, bro. We moving on like Maya. So I said all that to say, hey, Van, you still think we can get that deal with Rockefeller? So won't you raise your glass, won't you? Hey, Van, what's up, bro? You good? Heard you had a really good spring, man. Yeah? All right. That's what's up, man. Hey, keep it up. Keep it up, bro. You have a summer like you did in the spring, Might be a roster spot with your name on it, bro. I ain't saying. I'm just saying. All right. So while we've been dismissing, and I know I'm guilty as charged, I'm not running from the smoke. As dismissive as I've been of Van Jefferson, Van might be actually on this roster, and we may be counting on Van Jefferson at some point this season. So don't be so quick to get all mad, try to scratch up his 6. Now, you know he get paid for busting all kind of tight verses. I'm just saying, move on and move our way. Jerome Ford. He's another guy that I've been very dismissive of. I have every reason to be dismissive of Jerome Ford in a running back room that feels very crowded. He feels like the 5th guy because I don't know Jerome Ford's special teams prowess. I do know Jeremy McNichols, and they know Jeremy McNichols. And if they had to choose between Jerome Ford and Jeremy McNichols, they're going to take Jeremy McNichols, I believe. I could be wrong about that. Jerome Ford could be an excellent special teams player for all I know. I'll just say this. Right now, there are 5 running backs. I think they are vying for 3 spots, and it doesn't feel like those spots are actually up for grabs. If everybody's healthy, it's Bill, it's Rashad, and it's Fat Man. I don't really know if there's any other conversation. You keep a 4th running back, and that's when Jerome Ford and Jeremy McNichols come into play. And then we start talking about who wins that 4th running back spot. Again, that's Jeremy McNichols' spot until otherwise notified, if you ask me. So it feels like Jerome Ford is the 5th running back in a very crowded running back room. And that's why it's hard for me to envision him making this roster, but you never know, right? So of this group, the guy that I think has a chance to be the biggest one-hit wonder, all right, of this particular group, I think there are 3 names that stick out like a sore thumb. 4, if you count Jake Moody, if he makes the team, if he wins that battle. 4. But of this group, I think Treylon Burks, Rachaad White, and Chris Paul stand out, right? If you force me to pick one of these guys, if Chris Paul wins that guard battle, he's the one, right? If he doesn't, then I fall back to Rachaad White and Treylon Burks. And obviously, Burks depends on what happens with Aiyuk, or do they decide to add another receiver? Rachaad White isn't dependent on any of that. His situation is set. Either he's going to be the feature back here because Bill couldn't hold on to the ball or Bill couldn't stay healthy, whatever the case may be. Either he's the feature back or he's option 1B behind Bill. Either way, Rachaad White is going to see the field in a real capacity. He's going to touch the football every game. He's going to catch it out of the backfield. He's going to be on the field on 3rd downs as of right now. Rachaad White has a definitive role carved out for himself. So for me, right now, the guy that I feel like is the biggest one-hit wonder of all of these guys that you see on your screen right now that are on expiring deals, he's the guy that I think is the one-hit wonder, right? The biggest one-hit wonder. Now, again, you got Kayvon Chason, you got Deron Payne, you got Frankie Louvu. There are names here, guys, that could absolutely. But I wanted to pick a name that we haven't talked about. We talked about Deron Payne. I already told you it's payday Payne. I expect Deron to have a massive season, bro. I really do. I think he's going to force the Commanders to have to make a tough decision because at 30 years old, as a defensive tackle, that's nothing in this league. 30 is nothing for a defensive tackle. This ain't running back or receiver, one of those positions where as you get older, your skills diminish to a point where we don't want to pay you big money. This is defensive tackle. We watching guys like, what's the Steelers defensive tackle? Cam Hayward. How old is Cam Hayward? He got to be pushing 40. He's still getting new contracts. It feels like every other year. How old is Chris Jones in Kansas City? He just got another contract last year. Defensive tackles get paid in their 30s. If you playing at a high level, I think Deron gonna force their hand this offseason. We talked about K'Lavon Chaisson. I think I'm about to talk about him some more. As a matter of fact, let's go to the next list. So this is the same list. This is the same list that we just looked at, but with one small alteration made to it. Josue Reyes says, Buckner from the Colts, dudes are getting paid in their 30s at defensive tackle. If you like that, you can get to the bag. What's my man that just signed with the Falcons? I think he signed with the Falcons this year. He's definitely in his 40s. Calais Campbell. Is he with the Falcons? Did he sign somewhere else? I don't know where the hell Calais Campbell is anymore. But that brother's still playing. I said all that to say this. If Deron balls, they could give two shits about him being 30 years old. At that particular position, age is insignificant if you hooping. This list that you're looking at with these green boxes around all the guys who signed here this year on one-year contracts. So the list in total that we just were looking at was all the players on expiring deals, the guys that have been here for multiple years. And this is the last year of their deal, like a Deron Payne who signed the extension after the 2022 season. And this is the last year of that extension. Like all of those guys were on the list. Tressway, Tyler Ott, all those guys, have been here. Nick Ballore signed a multi-year, etc. This list separates the guys that had to re-sign here or signed here from another team on a one-year deal, right? So of this group, who is the guy that is the one-year wonder, right? Who's the guy that stands out? Now, if I'm picking off of this list, I'm going to take K'Lavon Chaisson of the newcomers, right? I know Rashad White is a newcomer as well, but K'Lavon Chaisson, I firmly believe, is going to be a guy on the defensive line because of what I said earlier. I don't think Dorrance Armstrong is going to be at his best this year. Had Dorrance still been the Dorrance of old, I think you would have seen a reduced role for K'Lavon Chaisson because Adafioye is going to be on the field quite a bit. They're paying that guy $100 million. They're not going to be taking him off the field a ton. But K'Lavon Chaisson is a guy that's going to be on the field, I think, quite a bit because of Dorrance Armstrong. I still think Dorrance is a starter because of his physicality, and they want that on first and second downs. So I think you're going to see Dorrance still out there, a healthy Dorrance, obviously. And we don't know when that's going to be. That could be week 1 against the Eagles on the road. That could be week 6 against the 49ers. It could be post-bye, right? Since our bye is so early, they could just keep Dorrance out and not have him come back until week 8 after the bye versus the Giants or the Eagles, excuse me. Who's to say, right? Here's what we do know. A healthy Dorrance is a much more physically imposing edge setter than that of K'Lavon Chaisson or Adafioye. With that said, if you're trying to get after the quarterback, I think K'Lavon Chaisson gives you a better option and a better opportunity to do that. Hence, I think K'Lavon Chaisson is going to be the guy of this group of the guys that just signed here this year to one-year deals. That's going to have the biggest impact. I would not sleep on Deatrich Wise. We never really got to see what he could be. And I think last year was his one opportunity to really blow up, get 8 sacks. He's not going to get that opportunity this year, right? He's going to be in more of a concentrated role, I believe. Like certain games, you're going to really feel Deatrich Wise's presence. Like when we play the Rams and they want to try to get physical and they want to put 13, 12 personnel on the field, I think that's when you're going to feel the presence of a Deatrich Wise. He's going to be out there a little bit more because he's a more physical, rugged, edge-setting defensive lineman. You're not looking for that light, get after the quarterback type of rusher in that particular situation and instance. The Eagles is another team that I think you might feel Deatrich Wise's presence early in the season against Philadelphia because they're going to want to run the football. He's going to be a big factor. Same with Charles Omenihu. Early in the season against Philadelphia week 1, I think you're going to see them to use a Joe Witt-ism, they're going to roll with a deep crew, and especially up front. And I think you're going to see some of these stouter, more rugged defensive linemen in the mix. Dietrich Wise, Charles Omenihu. If Dorrance is healthy, you're going to see a lot of those guys that are going to set physical edges. But I've got my money on Kayvon Chason of this group of guys that just signed here. Kayvon Chason. What says you? All right. Leave it in the comment section. So let's get a quick word from our sponsor. We'll come back. We'll get to the comment section, see what you guys have to say, and then we will get out of here. It's that time, people. The world on us and PrizePicks has you covered. Link is in the description of this video, where you can download the PrizePicks app, which is available in states like California, Florida, and Texas, to allow you to explore all the options that PrizePicks has available for you to game with the World Cup. All these opportunities you see in front of you, from shots on target to tackles and goals, are available for you to create a lineup that can allow you to take full advantage of the World Cup. Lots of opportunities over the next month and a half as the World Cup takes over center stage. Be a part of the action and play now on PrizePicks. Use the promo code HMA to get you an opportunity to play $5 and get $50 instantly in lineup bonuses when you use the promo code HMA. LouieTeeNetwork on PrizePicks is where you can find me. Enjoy the World Cup and do it with PrizePicks. All right. Big shout out to PrizePicks for sponsoring this stream. Let's get to the comment section and get you guys out of here. LaRon Nipper, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Guy LaRon writes, Lou, what up, LaRon? He says, glad I got to see you on my 21st birthday. Happy born day to you, my guy. 21, what a beautiful age, man. You're officially a full-blown adult. Congratulations to you for making it around the sun 21 times, man. That is a blessing. And now real life begins. I mean, really it starts at 18, but 21, you're officially legal to do everything now. So congratulations. You're in the prime, of your, years, I'll say, because you really hit your prime in your 30s, but you're like the high point of life. You're on that upswing. It doesn't get much better than 21, bro. Enjoy it. That's my biggest message to you, is enjoy it, but be productive. Don't look up 5 years from now. I'm like, damn, what did I just do with the last 4 years of my life? Enjoy it though, bro. Enjoy the journey. Enjoy the ride. Enjoy being young. Enjoy being young. Don't take it for granted. Says cop tickets for the show last week. Hey, shout out to my guy, LaRon. It'll be awesome to see you in the building. And Mob, y'all know what to do. Show LaRon some love in the chat. Wish him a happy born day. You just threw the oop, so I'm going to definitely dunk it. All right. You just threw me the oop for the event. He says, and can't wait to see you in the Kings come August, man. I really appreciate you, and so do the Kings, man. We can't thank you enough for the support, and we look forward to chopping it up with you on August the 23rd. Speaking of which, Finch LaRon threw that beautiful oop. I'm going to dunk it. All right. Commanders Kings annual toast to the season is on the horizon. We are hours away from the calendar turning to July, which puts us that much closer to this event taking place on August the 23rd. Get your tickets while tickets last. Again, they're going fast. Every time I show up on one of these streams, you got somebody saying, hey, I caught my tickets already. I'm not bullshitting you. I'm telling you, these tickets are moving, man, a lot faster than any of us anticipated. So take advantage of the early bird special. And and I say that, but I don't know, man. I don't know if we get to general admission. I don't know if we get to August 1st, to be honest with you, with the way these tickets are moving. Shout out to everybody that has already copped tickets. But we are going to have a blast in the heart of DC at Hook Hall on August the 23rd. Doors open. I got to see when the doors open. I can't say they open at 4 because the event is supposed to start at 4. Maybe the doors open at 4 and we get the event kicked off at 5. Either way, I'll have that information for you at a later date and time. But we're going to definitely have a great time. We got our signature drink contest, which is going to be one of the highlights of the event because we are going to have a toast at every quarter. We're breaking the event into quarters. Each toast will be the sponsor of that quarter. So Ed's got first quarter with his chair shot. I've got the second quarter with the TNTF. Rico's got the third quarter with the ATL Ho, and Rio has the fourth quarter with the Rio Rita. You guys are going to vote on the best drink, and the winner, we're going to have a big toast to them in overtime. And we're going to have a big toast to you guys, right? For those of you who make it to the finish line. And we're going to have a toast to the season, obviously, in that overtime quarter, right? Where we put our cups up and we toast to the Commanders having a successful 2026-27 campaign. Hopefully it's not the last time we will toast to this season. We're hoping that we're toasting to bigger and better things in 2026. But as I always tell y'all with the TNTF, it's explosive. It comes with a vegan cookie while supplies last. Get you a TNTF, and you can also enjoy yourself a vegan cookie in the process. We're going to have burgundy and gold raffle. We're going to have trivia. We're going to have so many interactive things for you guys to have fun, enjoy yourselves. And most importantly, we're going to have the Kings and the Legion. What can be better than that? Looking forward to having y'all come out, support, have a great time as we kick off the Commanders season with the annual toast to the season. It's going to be a blast. We want you to be a part of it. The link is in the description of this video. Click that link. If you want to be a vendor, you click that same link and you will fill out the registration form to become a vendor. Those vendor booths are filling up fast as well. And we only have a limited amount of spots for vendors. So keep that in mind. If you want to be a part of the event as a vendor, you need to get on that quickly. Also, if you want to, have us give you a shout out, you want to support the event with a shout out, right? You can also do that where you purchase the tickets. And you can have a shout out after the first quarter. You can say, I want my shout out to be done by, Louie T in the second quarter. I want my shout out to be done by Rio in the fourth quarter. Or you could get a shout out from all of us each quarter. That's all possible in that same link on the website. All you have to do is scroll down to the bottom where you purchase the tickets, and you will see an opportunity for you to get the shout out with the fan appreciation. So all of it is there. Click the link and you'll have all the information that you need. Can't wait to see y'all August the 23rd. Get your tickets now while they last. Big shout out to our guy LaRon for copping his tickets, and hopefully we'll see all of you guys in August at Hook Hall for the Commanders Kings annual event. All right. TJ Ryder, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, TJ Ryder, thank you for the super chat. Court Casino, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Court Casino writes, great show last night. The coach represents the common sense fan. Accountability. That said, you feeling different about the BA Boo Shiesty in DC, Lou? No, nothing's changed for me. I mean, I'm resolute in how I feel about the Brandon Aiyuk situation. The only thing that I think he made sense for me with last night and brought to light, and I'm like, yeah, he's absolutely spot on. And then knowing Adam Peters absolutely is the amount of money he would get here. I don't know if it's a veteran minimum contract. I don't see that being the case, but I don't see it being a ton of money, right? Like, Ayuk pretty much boxed himself into a corner where who are you going to negotiate? Who are we bidding against? It's the same Rachaad White situation where Rachaad White basically gave Adam Peters all the power and he gladly took it and wielded it. Like, oh, you just want to play for the Commanders? Bet. How bad you want to play for them? 1 year, $2 million. Sign it. Show me how bad you want to play here, right? If Ayuk clearly doesn't want to play for any of the other 31 teams in the league, he wants to only play for the Commanders, Adam Peters can use that to his advantage. All right, bet. Sign this 1 year, $3.5 million deal, and with incentives, it can get to, $7, $8, or $9 million. All right, sign that. And if Ayuk truly wants to be here, he'll sign it, right? So that's the thing he changed my mind on, like, or at least, shed light to and made sense of, because I'm like, you know what? Yeah, we don't have to give him all that money. We're not bidding against anybody else. He's clearly made it as clear as day he doesn't want to play for any other team other than the Commanders. He clearly wants to be on the team with his best friend, Jaden Daniels. That's his only interest at this point. So you can take advantage of that. But as far as not wanting him on the roster, this, that, nothing that was said last night alters, because I told you, I don't care about what happened in San Francisco and how we got to this point, unless something happened that paints a different picture of Aiyuk as this guy that is going to come in here and be a problem. And as I've said already, Brandon Aiyuk has not had one bad word uttered about him from any of his former teammates. Not a single one. Haven't heard it. Okay. So I'm just going off of what Adam Peters basically said, which is I can vouch for Brandon Aiyuk's character. He's not going to lead us astray. He wouldn't bring Brandon Aiyuk into this locker room if he didn't think he would assimilate easily into this locker room, seamlessly. There's a reason why they haven't brought Stephon Diggs in here. They don't want that type of distraction. Furthermore, they're not sure if Stephon Diggs can handle being at home while being on an NFL roster. They don't know if that's the best move. And some dudes, and we talked about this last night, me and the coach talked about this. Some dudes aren't made to be at home while they're employed. Chase Young couldn't handle being here in DC and, playing football. Dwayne Haskins didn't do a good job, God rest his soul, of being at home and playing football. Some dudes need to be away. I think Diggs is another one of those guys. You can see him getting into some trouble being at home. So, yeah, I think last night, one of the things that I feel like was eye-opening for me was the amount of money that we would give him significantly reduced. And I agree with that. TJ Ryder, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. My guy TJ writes, LOL. I don't know what happened with the first one, TJ. I don't know what happened with the first one, but I appreciate you nonetheless. TJ Ryder, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy TJ writes, much love, bro. You hold us down through thick and thin. Look, that's one thing I can promise y'all. I'm never going anywhere. Through the good times, through the bad times, you always know where you're going to find me, man. But I'm hoping, I'm praying that there will be more good times than bad times moving forward. And I'm confident that we're heading in that direction. This offseason feels like a pivotal turning point, if you will, in the trajectory of this organization. We thought that year was 2024. We were wrong, and we were naive to think that we could skip steps in that way, in that manner. This feels more sustainable. You really have the foundation for a legitimate outfit moving forward. And I think this year is the beginning of us competing at a very high level and having a run where we're one of the better teams in the conference. And I think Jaden establishes himself as one of the premier quarterbacks in the league. And then it's just up and it's stuck from this point forward. And now you just continue to build around him. You know, next year you might go get him a first-round wide receiver, right? And then you start building the other pieces, right? Go get us an elite defensive tackle. I'm so high on getting us an elite defensive tackle, especially if we don't get anything out of the guys this year. If Johnny doesn't do anything, if Deron doesn't step up, you know, Kinlaw is what he is. He's not going to be, you know, an 8-sack guy. That's not who he is at this point of his career. I just think that Coach Henne is capable of getting the most out of a defensive tackle if you get a guy with elite talent. So I am very intrigued with what this D-line is going to do this year based off of coaching of Coach Henne. So anyway, I'm going to be here. That's one thing you ain't never got to worry about. I'm going to be here, man. Come hell or high water. The peaks, the valleys, the highs, the lows, through thick and thin, you can count on me. Your man, Louie T. I'll be here. Hopefully, last year was the last year of us having one of those years. Like, you're not going to be nice every year. You're not going to be in Super Bowl conversations, and you're not going to be Super Bowl contenders every year. But you shouldn't be playing meaningless football before October. Your season shouldn't be done before the end of the second month of the season. I don't ever want to do that shit again. Last year was so bad on so many levels. I don't want to do that again. And I don't think we will, at least not in 2026. We won't. As long as 5 is healthy. And even if something happens to him and he's got to miss a couple of games, depth-wise, we're in a better position to stand up and keep the ship afloat until 5 is ready to return. But I ain't even trying to do that this year. Like, I need 5 for all 17, and whatever we do in the postseason, I need 5 for all of it. Because we trying to go out and we trying to send a statement this year. Like, 5 is not injury prone, and he's one of the best in the league. That's the message that we're trying to send loud and clear this year. John Perez Sports, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, JP, writes, I still want Aiyuk, but he's not helping the situation by pouting. Also, LeBron is officially playing elsewhere next year, Golden State or Cleveland. I literally told the Kings it's one of those two destinations. Like, I heard the report today that LeBron has told Rich Paul to open himself up to the entire league, put fielders out for every team in the league. Yeah, right. He ain't going to Miami to play with Giannis. It ain't enough talent on that team. LeBron wants to go somewhere where he's going to have a legitimate shot to win a championship. And his best chance to win a chip, I believe, again, they got to stay healthy, is Golden State. Cleveland would be intriguing because the East is wide open. There is no dominant team on that side of the bracket, and they have some talent in Cleveland, but I'm not sure if LeBron's the missing piece to the Cavaliers to help them win. I don't think that's a strong enough core. Whereas in Golden State, a healthy Steph, a healthy, LeBron, which LeBron generally is healthy, and they got some young guys out there that are talented, and they're going to continue to add to that roster. I wouldn't sleep on them. Now, they wanted to add AD. AD's not getting traded, so that kind of hurts that one. I think Cleveland is very interesting too, but they're going to have to make some moves if they want to add LeBron. And they've already started the process. I heard that they were looking to move Max Strus, and these are critical guys. Like Max Strus plays defense; he can shoot the three. I don't know. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see where LeBron ultimately goes. I think most people want to see him in Golden State, though. I think the West is going to be fun. Like Ja in Portland, you say what you want. That shit has a chance to be a lot of fun. With Dame coming back this year and Ja out there, that could be fun in Portland. LeBron in Golden State could be fun. We could see some really fun teams this year. And Kawhi back in Toronto with the I don't know what the hell the Clippers are doing, by the way. Like Brandon Ingram stinks. I'm not a BI fan. So I hate the trade for them. Like I would have much rather them tried to go after Jaylen Brown. And, you know, maybe they tried and the asking price was too high, so they went to the next best thing. But Kawhi returning to Toronto for the vibes is pretty dope. I don't think they're winning shit, but that's a young team with some talent, man. And they gave away the one dude that won't shit. They kept all the stuff that actually is good there. Look out for Toronto in the East now. A healthy Kawhi. If they get the Kawhi that played last year, shit, Toronto's going to be good. With the talent that they have, they got a nice young core out there. You add a healthy Kawhi to that shit, look out. Look the hell out. But should be a lot of fun, man. I think LeBron ends up in Golden State, to answer your question. I think he wants to play with Steph. John Perez, my guy, JP Sports. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. JP writes, one title in LeBron's 8 years feels like a failure. I mean, I guess you could say that. I don't think it's a failure. I mean, you're lucky you got that, to be honest with you. You're lucky you got that. Because I don't really ever feel like the teams that he was on were championship contenders. I never felt like they were a team like, oh yeah, look out for like last year was interesting, and then Luka got hurt. Would have loved to have seen what would have happened if Luka would have stayed healthy. I still don't think they would have made it out of the West. But it would have been interesting. They were playing some good basketball. But it would have been nice to see him and Luka for longer. If that pairing could have worked. But they only got to do it for 1 year. And unfortunately, Luka got hurt. But he brought you a title. He brought you back to relevance. Before he came, the Lakers were ass. So he left you in a better spot than you were in when he got there. Because now you got Luka. You can at least keep the party going. Anyway, I digress. That is going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. I look forward to chopping it up with you guys tomorrow at some point. I ain't going to hold you. June has been crazy. I may take the day off tomorrow, but the Kings are supposed to be getting active tomorrow, so we will see what happens. You'll definitely see me there if everybody's on the same page, if everybody is able to get on, we'll hop on together tomorrow. And even if I don't do anything on this particular channel, you'll definitely see me over there if everybody is able to do so. But no matter what the situation is, if you don't see me tomorrow, you'll definitely see me on Thursday. That is for certain. Anyway, I digress. You guys have a great rest of your night, and I look forward to chopping it up with you guys next time. Until then, you guys have a good one. Peace.